was a simpler time, a time when America moved out of the city into the suburbs. This exodus occurred following World War II, when our victorious soldiers returned home and America prospered during the Eisenhower era. If you look at the Twin Cities metro area in 1950, approximately 70% of the people lived in Minneapolis and St. Paul. By 2010, that number had changed to a mere 20%. This dramatic shift of the cities to the suburbs took hold across the country and is seen by historians as one of the most important events in U.S. history. The Minnesota Historical Society has developed an exhibit to shed light on this major event.
More and more young families, young people starting out, and the available housing, thanks again to the GI Bill and VA mortgages and all of that, available housing was often in the suburbs.
In the 1950s, the average age of marriage was 19, which in turn created the baby boom, which in turn created the housing boom.
Part of what fueled this whole outward migration to the suburbs had to be the building boom, or again, it's one of these situations like which came first. But there were so many developers, Kate, that probably would crank out one home after another. And I say developers because they became developments where each home looked very similar, maybe changed the siding or some such.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, certainly there was a need for this housing because so many servicemen are coming back after World War II, starting families. The most affordable place they can purchase, because there are great VA loans too going at this time, is to find a house out in the suburbs. And then, like you say, the houses themselves need to go up quickly. There isn't a great desire at this point to do a whole lot of difference in these houses. Uniformity is okay.
Ah, yes, good old uniformity. Hey, if the Cleavers, Nelsons, or Douglas's house looked like this, then so should ours, darn it.
An area like this might be inside one of the model homes in a suburban development, where you'd sit down with a sales rep who would probably allow you to go through and pick out the features, because these homes are all pretty much cookie cutter, weren't they, Kate?
That's right, that's right. They start out being very much the same, but then it's the details that start to make the difference. So you could pick your own flooring. To a certain extent, you could pick your counter covers, you know, things like that. Some of your fixtures, some of your bathroom fixtures. And that's what would start to make the house feel like your own.
Not unlike today, only unlike today, a 900 square foot home in the suburbs would cost you about $11,000.
And these affordable homes in these affordable manufactured neighborhoods also brought a boom to the auto industry, because now we needed to drive everywhere.
We have an expanding population, a growing middle class, lots of baby boomer children that need transportation, need a place to live. And then as these places to live grow up in the suburbs, we really do need the roads to support them. There's more disposable income. There's more income at a national scale to build those roads. So it all sort of comes together. It's sort of a prosperous time in general.
And of course, Dad's pride and joy was the family car.
The family car, probably symbolized by this station wagon, was sort of the ticket to suburbia, wasn't it?
Absolutely. If you're going to live away from the metro, and you're going to have children, and you're going to need to get places, you're going to need a car like this 56 Chevy Townsman. And you know what I think is great about this car? I mean, it's a beautiful car in itself, but also you take this and you put it next to today's minivan, and it's the same impulse, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
but probably weighs twice what that minivan
probably does. That's true. And no seatbelts, of course.
No seatbelts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a difference in gas mileage back in the day.
I think there was a bit of a difference.
Because it was things like plentiful fuel and water and space that sort of led to this outward migration.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There were available resources across the board.
And once inside the Suburbia house, the options available to Mom and Dad were limitless. Chrome ruled the day, and after Sputnik, everything took on a Buck Rogers look. Let's start with the kitchen.
Anybody who is anywhere near my age is going to come in and go, I had that on our kitchen counter. We had these pots and pans. We had the mixer on the countertop and all of these things.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I mean, that's one of our goals in all of our exhibits, of course, is to spark memory and get people to understand that their personal history is part of the larger stories.
Take the refrigerator freezer, for instance, a revolution of the time.
This is the era of the convenience food, the TV dinner. You know, we think about that now, all the frozen foods, and it's a funny sort of contradiction during this time. At the same time that women are being told that their place is in the home and that they should be making home-cooked meals, there's also this rise in convenience food and dinner in a jiffy and all of that. So it's an interesting sort of counterbalance during this time.
And the living room became the room to entertain. The focal point was a brand spanking new wood console black and white television with 3 or 4 glorious channels to watch your favorite show. Ashtrays always at arm's reach, and a fully stocked bar with your favorite spirits.
The living room was kind of the entertainment center, not only for the kids playing with the various toys, but also for the adults, where the television sat, the console television, because televisions were a big deal early on in the suburban migration.
Yes, yes, and you have to remember that too, that the 50s is really the era when the television is becoming available to everyone. You know, there's a huge boom in TV ownership during that time, as well as a huge boom in the kind of programming available. We talked about the 3 stations, and you've got the TV shows featuring, again, suburban family life. Largely white, largely uncomplicated, but that's the kind of entertainment that people were seeing during this time.
And no house was complete without the latest electrical gadgets.
Things like washers, electric fans, this great vacuum cleaner that, you know, the other thing you have to remember in the 50s, what's going on in the space race.
The space race.
So you have all of these appliances that really look like they're something from the space age, which is great. And of course, they're all meant to make the housewife's life so much easier.
So much easier.
The post-war shift to the suburbs changed the landscape of America forever. In many ways, a simpler time, when the middle class was really a middle class, and the American dream was reflected in these neighborhoods throughout the country.
Life to the Max is brought to you by Life Touch, photography for a lifetime.